Hello. If you're a bit fed up with winter, well, I have some good news, but I also have some bad news. The good news is that we're changing seasons. The 1st of March is on Sunday, which means the start of meteorological spring. The bad news is that the weather isn't really changing with the season. Further spells of wet and windy weather to come. No sign of any dry spell of weather. Perhaps beyond 10 days, well, maybe hints that the second week of March could be a little drier, but concentrating on the next week and a half, yes, further spells of wet and windy weather, and often on the chilly side as well, which means when the wet weather does arrive, there could be some sleet and snow mixed in, at least temporarily. What's going on? Let's take a look at the bigger picture. And high up in the atmosphere, the jet stream driving low pressure systems across the UK. Now, the jet does kind of buckle and wiggle a bit through the weekend, which is why there's some uncertainty about the forecast this weekend. But by the time we get into early next week, we're almost back to square one with a powerful jet stream moving across the Atlantic, bringing low pressure systems our way. One subtle shift, the jet perhaps next week may be a bit further south. And there's a warm and a cold side to the jet. So with the jet stream further south, we're more likely to be in the colder air. Now that's the position of the jet. What does that mean for our weather and our pressure patterns? Well, the jets will drive low pressure systems our way. This one on Wednesday night and Thursday morning. And then the complications come as that jet buckles at the weekend, and just exactly how this area of low pressure will behave. It could bring us a very windy spell, a lot of isobars on the chart for the weekend. And then as the jet's a bit further south into early next week, well, the low pressure systems themselves are then more likely to be shifted further south also. Let's deal with that first low arriving on Wednesday night and Thursday morning, because it is likely to bring some wintry weather across England and Wales. Thursday morning could see some sleet and snow down to low levels, but it should be clearing away quite rapidly. Further snow showers in Scotland on the northwesterly wind. Then turns quite cold on Thursday night. A frost on Friday morning, but look here. On Friday itself, there's another band of wet weather arriving. Now, this weather front is tied in to this area of low pressure, but it's very complicated. What we do know is that low pressure, that first band of rain, will be quite heavy and again falling onto areas where the ground is saturated. So there's the potential for that rain on Friday to cause some further flooding issues. So there are yellow warnings in force across parts of northern England and Wales. Now that weather front, as I said, is tied into this area of low pressure, but it is very complicated. And there's some uncertainty about how this low behaves into Saturday. And the behaviour of that low is crucial for determining where the strongest winds are likely to be. It could get very windy this weekend across England, Wales and Northern Ireland especially, but there is uncertainty about the exact position of this low. This is just one computer model run, but of course for our longer range forecasts we tend to look at what's called an ensemble. We run the computer models several times, and this is a Dalmatian plot showing all of those different computer model runs from the European model run for Saturday and the position of the low. The UK is under here. Let's take a closer look. There's the UK, and each of these different dots represents a different potential position of that low, and that's the uncertainty. They're all spread out. Normally you'd expect them to be more clustered together, but there's quite a big spread of those dots, which means there's more uncertainty than usual about the position of the low. What we are expecting is a wet and windy weekend, but exactly how windy and whether those winds could be potentially disruptive, well, that is a degree of uncertainty, and that's something we'll be keeping a very close eye on over the next couple of days. So, spells of wet and windy weather to come over the weekend. How about beyond that? Well, one area of low pressure clears away. And as we saw earlier, there's another one coming in, perhaps again shifted to the south. And with the colder air across the UK, well, that could mean a bit more wintry weather. But again, as with the uncertainty for the low at the weekend, there's quite a bit of uncertainty about the exact position of that low into Monday. And then behind me, well, there's another area of low pressure. And by this stage, again, the jet stream is powering back across the Atlantic. And that's kind of the setup for most of next week. This is the computer projection for the jet stream for the early to middle part of next week. And again, beyond towards the latter part of next week. That jet stream likely to be shifted to the south of the UK, but still very much in evidence, still pretty powerful, which means low pressure systems are likely to be moving across the country, all the while coming in from the Atlantic. We'll stay on the colder side of the jet, which means that some snow is possible, But with wet and windy weather streaming in from the Atlantic, it means that if we do see any snow, it's not likely to last, to stick around. For that, we really need an easterly wind, and there's no sign of that with the jet stream bringing low pressure systems. Further spells of wet and windy weather set up for almost the entirety of next week, it looks like. Now, I said at the start, there is a possibility of something a little drier beyond that. And, well, maybe this is just a glimmer of hope if, as I say, you are fed up with this winter weather. This chart, we've shown it before, shows the pressure probability. There's an awful lot of blue on this chart. These are the dates going forward. And blue basically means low pressure is the more dominant feature across the UK. So, yes, we are expecting low pressure systems throughout next week. But just look at that, a hint. That is all it is at this stage of some pink or red, which means high pressure trying to build in as we go into that second week of March. But as I say, that is a long way off at this stage. Before then, plenty more wet and windy weather to get through and some snow and ice to come as well. So make sure you stay tuned. Day-to-day updates, weather warnings, always available on our YouTube channels, of course on social media. Download our app for the very latest as well.